Hello, my name is Chris Shelton, coming to you from a beautiful day in San Jose, California, the heart of Silicon Valley, with your DIY home remedies guide to health, happiness, and healing transformations. We get a lot of emails and a lot of requests on our social media, like on Instagram, about tension headaches and migraines and what are the root causes and what can we do in order to prevent them or to cure ourselves if we're suffering from migraines and tension headaches. So first and foremost, when we look at tension headaches, there's a couple types. Obviously, there's one type that comes around if you have a common cold or a flu. So normally when a virus or bacteria enters the body, it enters what they call as the yang stage of disease. So in Chinese medicine, we have so many cool different ways to diagnose. Most of Chinese medicine is based upon cold and heat-induced diseases. And so we have what is known as the 6 stages of disease as well as the 4 levels of disease. So generally speaking, when a cold or a flu comes in and you get a tension headache, it's because normally what happens is that this cold obstructs what is known as the first stage, which is the yang channels. And the yang channels are on the shoulders, the neck, and the upper back. So obviously, if there's a fight between the internal environment and the external, trying to fight off this virus or whatever is coming in, then what happens is that it attacks those yang channels. When those yang channels get obstructed, then we have what is referred to as channel pathology. And a lot of times what will happen is it'll attack these channels in the upper back, the neck, and the base of the skull. So what can we do? Well, number one, let's try not to get sick. So let's make sure that we keep our immune systems nice and strong. And one of the things that we do to keep our immune systems nice and strong is we make sure to get plenty of sleep, make sure to eat the healthy foods that we're meant to eat according to our constitution, room temperature water, and the other thing too is not to go into a draft, whether it's an artificial draft from air conditioning or a heater or natural wind, whether it's cold wind or wind with heat with it. You want to make sure that your wind gates, which are around your neck and your upper back, are covered. That's why in the wintertime is that you actually will see a lot of people wear scarves. Well, maybe they may not know it, but what they're actually doing by wearing the scarf is they're actually protecting these wind gates around the body. So making sure our immune systems are strong, taking plenty of vitamin C, as long as it's not contraindicated with any medications that you may be on, and taking herbal formulas too. So if you're somebody who gets colds and flus easily, then there's a formula out there called Jade Windscreen, and you would start to take that probably around the Indian summer months, and you would take that to help to build up our lung qi, or what is referred to as our wei qi. And then when the wei qi is more expansive, then it's harder for these pathogens to enter in. So what is the wei qi? Well, the wei qi is like this energetic bubble that surrounds all of us. And generally speaking, what happens is during the winter months or during autumn and fall, when viruses start to come alive, because viruses come alive when it's cold, most people don't know that, but what happens is this wei qi starts to ride closer to the body. Why? Because during the fall or autumn months is when the lungs are most prone to disease. Okay, so we want to make sure that this wei qi is nice and strong. Some of the practices that we could actually do is we could actually do patting. This is one practice that we could do, especially here on our lung channel. We could actually pat, okay? And we could actually pat on both sides, okay? This is a good way to do this. All right, so the lung acupuncture meridian actually emerges from the chest crease here, so where your pectoral muscle is, where it reaches or connects into the shoulder, and that crease there, this is where lung 1 is, and lung 2 then travels all the way down to the inner part of the thumb, at the base of the thumbnail here. So we could pat, that's one way. The other thing we could do too is we could go ahead and do the lung movement. And so as I inhale, just imagine as though there's a white cloud coming up into the lungs. Okay, so such a simple practice. And the other thing too that will cause the lungs to be prone to disease, besides poor diet and besides poor diet and not enough sleep, the other thing that will cause the lungs to become weak is the emotions of sadness, grief, sorrow, and disappointment. The other thing too that will weaken our immune system is fear, because when there's too much fear, then that also will weaken the immune system, because there's a close connection between the interaction of the lungs and the kidneys. So I'm going to just focus on white light filling up into the lungs as I inhale, and then as I exhale, any toxicity leaving the lungs like a dark cloud. Okay, so simple. And if you want to, you could actually incorporate in there, as well as you could go in and incorporate the feeling. So if there is any kind of loss or grief. You can imagine that leaving like a dark cloud out the hands, going several feet away from the body and deep into the ground. So disappointment, shame is also affected by, or also affects the lungs too. Okay, so this is a great move. And then I could pull it back and then finish off by pulling down the heavens 1 to 3 times. It's up to you, whatever feels comfortable for you. Now the other thing we could do too is the healing sound for the lungs. And you could actually place your hands on your chest if you want to and inhale. I could actually feel my lungs vibrate by doing this. So I could do it audibly or I could do it underneath my breath, inhaling. I can do several of those. Now if I'm going to do it underneath my breath, it'd be like this. And again, so doing those kinds of practices, Qigong practices, in order to help to strengthen our lungs, which helps to keep our Wei Qi stronger, which helps our immune system, which also, when it helps our immune system, helps us to keep from getting colds and flus that can cause tension headaches. Okay, well, other things that will cause tension and headaches, obviously, will be poor diet. So poor diet, so your stomach Qi being weak, this also can create tension headaches. But the most common thing that causes migraines, and migraines that fluctuate around the head, like behind the eyes, for example, or in the temples or the base of the skull, most common thing is the liver gallbladder dysfunction. And if you're watching a lot of my other videos, we were talking about this earlier today on a class that we were doing, is that of all the dysfunctions that we see in clinical practice, a lot of them come down to liver, gallbladder being out of balance, and also the stomach and spleen being out of balance. Now obviously other organs do play a role, but this liver has so many functions. It has like over 800 functions. And the liver, when it gets congested, what it does is it then affects the gallbladder. Well, guess what? This gallbladder meridian actually comes up from the pinky toe and actually comes up through the groin, through the buttocks, comes up to the shoulder here, and then the base of the skull, and then it actually zigzags and comes out here to the side, outside quarter of the eye. So when you get to the base of the skull, or the occipital bone, the base of the skull, or the occipital, why is it so hard? Occipital. The base of the skull, or the occipital ridge, which is the bone right here, the bony protuberance right here at the base of the skull. This is gallbladder 20. And a lot of times what will happen is when we have a lot of anger, frustration, rage, or resentment, or tension, hence the word tension headaches, guess what? That energy, that blood rises and it obstructs the acupuncture channels of the gallbladder meridian. So one Qigong practice that we could actually do is that we could find the tender points right here, and it's as though you're doing craniosacral on yourself, but it's going to be a little bit more intense because craniosacral is actually very relaxing if you find a good practitioner. I want you to feel the pain when you press here, because this is what's going to help you to release. So I'm pressing really hard here on gallbladder 20, almost like I'm trying to lift my head up to the ceiling with my thumbs. So my feet are firmly planted on the ground. I'm in my Wu Ji posture. My feet are about shoulders width apart. And I'm pressing here and I'm pulling up. I'm pushing in to the occipital ridge, gallbladder 20 here, the base of the skull. This is where the qi and the blood tends to get stuck, especially from liver yang rising or liver fire blazing upwards. Those are some pretty silly but common diagnostic terms in Chinese medicine. Pressing in and pressing up as though I'm trying to lift my head to the sky. Okay, so that's gallbladder 20. Another couple of acupuncture channels, or another acupuncture channel you can press on here, is bladder 10. And so here's the ridge here, here's your spine, here's your cervical spine as it comes up here, and then I'm going to find these tender points here again. So I'm going to press in, I'm going to press up. Now there should be discomfort here, and there will be more discomfort for somebody who suffers from migraines and tension headaches. Okay, so the goal is the more that you do this, so I'm pressing in, pressing up, and then what I'm imagining is that the energy is releasing from the head, the blood is releasing from the head. So it doesn't matter if I'm here at gallbladder 20 or if I'm here in bladder 10, the energy in the blood is releasing. And the more that I do this, then the more that this should open up these channel pathways. And okay, then I could just gently massage the nape of my neck. on that gallbladder meridian and on the bladder channel. Bladder channel runs on both sides, is parallel to the spine. Actually starts in the inner canthus of the eyes here, so bladder 1 is right here. So another thing you could do too is you could gently massage bladder 1, bladder 2. I don't know if you ever did that little game with your friends where you open and close one eye and then you say camera 1, camera 2, camera 1, camera 2. Anyways, I'll go back to this. So I'm massaging here, massaging bladder 1. Okay, and I want to, we hear the brow bone, so the inner canthus of the eye. And I'm going to gently massage outwards. Okay, another Qigong practice that I could do, imagining the energy releasing. And I'm also applying a lot of pressure here as well. Okay, so it's a simple practice to do, brush those eyebrows. I could obviously massage the temples. And then what I want to do, after I massage the temples, after I work on bladder 20, bladder 10, bladder 1, and bladder 2 here, then what we could go ahead and do is we could brush it down. I want to brush it down, downtown like Julia Brown. Okay, so come down, brush, brush. We could also pull down the heavens, so inhaling. And then as we exhale, just allow for that white light to come in and imagine any excess blood or chi that was stuck in the head actually releasing out through the legs and out through the feet and down deep into the ground. Inhale and exhale. And you could also brush on this practice as well too. Well, from doing that little practice of massaging bladder 1, bladder 2, my eyes feel much brighter now. I see the light and I exhale. Okay, so those are simple practices to do to get that liver chi to descend. Liver energy is supposed to spread out in all directions. This is your energy of your body, because one of the functions of that liver is the controller of blood, meaning that it controls the movement of blood, and your blood contains your chi, and the chi moves the blood around the body. Liver chi is not supposed to rise upwards or inwards and upwards, okay? So it's supposed to move throughout the whole body. So we want to make sure that liver chi descends. So guess what? The next movement is going to be the liver move. So I'm going to imagine a green cloud filling up into the right side of the body. And then as I exhale, I'm going to imagine any hatred or anger or resentment leaving like a dark cloud. Maybe you had too many margaritas over the weekend. And allow for that to release, that toxicity to release like a dark cloud, going several feet away from the body and deep into the ground. Right, letting go of the hatred, the anger, resentment. And it's really imperative to think of a person or a circumstance for which you hold resentment. And then as you exhale, imagine that going away like a dark cloud, going several feet away from the body and deep into the ground. Okay, allowing for the positive virtue of kindness to come in, acceptance and inclusion to come in. Okay. Then I'm going to press in, I'm going to press down, finish off by pulling down the heavens 1 time, though you could do it 3 times if you want. And exhaling. And allow for that to release as well too. Okay, so besides the anger and the resentment causing the tension headaches, well, what else will affect our liver? Well, obviously I just said it, drinking too much will cause it, being dehydrated will cause it, and also eating the wrong kinds of foods. So greasy, fatty, fried foods, your liver and gallbladder, you know, your gallbladder is supposed to help to assimilate those fats, but at a certain point, it actually will obstruct its function and actually show up as disease. So we want to make sure that the foods that we're eating are healthy, they're blanched, not raw. So your healthy greens, for example. I'm very big on dark kale. I love dark kale, it's so good for you. There's many different ways to prepare. For some people it's too bitter, but there's many different ways that you could saute it, like in coconut oil or something, and drizzle it first, chop it, drizzle it first with some fresh lemon or fresh lime, a little bit of Himalayan sea salt in there as long as you don't have hypertension, and saute it, and then you can mix it with other things like goji berries and pine nuts, and brown some pine nuts and goji berries together. Mwah, delicious. So these are some simple things you could do also, and your liver will love you for it. Okay, so making sure that you're eating the right foods. You know, every once in a while going out for a hamburger and french fries or pizza and stuff like that, right on, go ahead and do that, but it shouldn't be an everyday thing. This will congest your liver and this will also congest your gallbladder, which when it's congested will actually create more anger and resentment. So it doesn't always have to be that somebody made you angry and you just repressed it. Believe it or not, by eating the wrong kinds of foods could actually cause a blockage in this liver and gallbladder and cause you to become more angry and aggressive. Okay, so our digestion is very important, making sure that we're getting plenty of sleep, room temperature water, and doing the Qigong practices that I was recommending. To wrap up here today with tension headaches and migraines, which really plagues a lot of people, especially the migraines are so debilitating, then what we really want to do is really want to pay attention to, if you are suffering from those, is what are we eating and how are we processing our emotions? In particular, how are we processing our emotions of anger, frustration, rage, and resentment? I also talked about too, making sure that your immune system is nice and strong. So for more information, click on the link below to get a copy of my free book, as well as to order some of the Jade Windscreen herbs that I was talking about to help your immune system stay strong, especially if you're somebody who tends to get sick easily in the winter or fall months. So, wrap it up here. I'm Chris Shelton. Until next time, say la chi. So I'm Chris Shelton, signing off from a beautiful day in San Jose, California, the heart of Silicon Valley, wishing you health, happiness, and healing transformations. Until next time, I will chi you later.